Hey team, Macho Models here, and I want to talk to you guys about clear coats. So what you're seeing in front of you is kind of like an evolution of where my workflow's gone, and I'm going to talk today about Pledge and my thoughts on that, and then I have Aqua Gloss from Alclad here, XF86, and then I have Alclad Clear Coat Matte, and then I'm finishing up with these splash paints. So from left to right, to bring up Pledge first. So this might be a little bit contentious, but I'm, for all intents and purposes, done with Pledge. I started off using Pledge Future, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty keen, and it's kind of novel to be able to spray out of your airbrush this floor cleaner and to be able to get this clear coat that you can then apply decals on or washes. But I quickly found when I was working with rounded surfaces that the Pledge doesn't bind well. I'm sure a lot of people have other techniques on how to do this, but in my experience, I was going on with a light coat of Pledge, and then I'd wait about 5 minutes and then come back again with a heavier coat of Pledge, and I'd get it to just break kind of the surface tension where it looked nice and glossy. And then I come back the next day and come to find out there was a big pool down here of Pledge. And I had a feeling it was more the product rather than me, or maybe it was a combination of both. But regardless, it was just too much variability for me. So I started kind of looking into what other folks are using for their clear coat, and I quickly read a lot of reviews on the Alclad Aqua Clear Gloss. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I've had really stellar results with it. This is actually my second bottle. I gave another one to a friend that was about, had about a third left. But out of that first bottle, I got a lot of really good use out of it. This sprays on fantastic. You don't have to mix it. You actually just drop your pipette in here, and it goes on even. I just do a really light coat. I wait a couple ticks, and then I come back with 2 medium coats, and it goes on fantastic. It also is just a really solid acrylic barrier to be able to use for your washes and your decals. And you know, the point that I really want to highlight here, if anybody really has any kind of bones of contention between Future and the Alclad, you know, we spend a lot of time putting these base coat paints on. You know, if you're doing layers and masking, I mean, it's an intensive amount of time, and I would hate to have to put Pledge on and not get a good result. I know that if I use Aqua Gloss, that I'm gonna get a pretty good result with it. So I'm just simply not willing to kind of take the risk on Pledge when I know that Aqua Gloss is the superior product and it's gonna give me a fantastic sealed top gloss coat. So I highly recommend, you know, to anybody who's still using Pledge or kind of thinking about perhaps transitioning off, I can't recommend the Aqua Gloss enough for a really solid acrylic clear coat. So that talks about the clear coats. You know, again, I'm done with Pledge, and I've had really good results with the Aqua Gloss, and I hope you check it out too. Next up is the matte coat. So I have been using the XF86 for quite some time. This is actually, you know, out of all of my modeling products, what I've been using the most, because even before I started painting Gundam, I would at least put a top coat on it, and the XF86 has always worked out pretty well. I noticed with my last Gundam build, though, that that XF86, even though it was a pretty clear bottle and it was well thinned, it was a little frosted on the coat. I felt like some of the paint and some of the details could have shown through just a little bit better. So my next experiment, I actually have not used this, but I've read a lot of good things, and I've already kind of affirmed why I like the Aqua Gloss a lot, is this clear coat. So I'm really looking forward to checking out Alclad's version of a matte clear coat and seeing what comes from that. I don't really have anything right now that I can show you, but I think I'm going to try to paint some spoons in a bit while I'm in the middle of the tall geese build in the back, and take a look at and kind of show some differences between the XF86 and the clear coat, and I'll be sure to share those results back with you all. The last thing, again, still in the experimental phase, is trying to get a really good clear coat. So I used my Aqua Gloss, this Alclad, when I did the James Bond build, and it worked out pretty well. The clear coat, I put one coat on the Bond car, and then I came back and I did a little sanding, and then I came back and put another one on, and it looked pretty good. It wasn't too bad, especially after a little bit of buffing with some polishing compounds. But I've read a lot about car modelers, and they really look for a lacquer-based clear coat. So these are both acrylic-based clear coats. Actually, all of this is acrylic for all intents and purposes in the back. But they say, you know, if you really want that diamond hard finish and you want it to look like an automotive coat, you need to work with paints that are a little bit hotter. So I checked out splash paints, and I have their two-part, excuse me, So one here is the paint, and then I think this one is titled the Activator. Yeah. And these are supposed to be really effective. There's another company out there that I have called Zero Paints, and they do a similar product. It's actually 3 of these bottles, but there's just 2. And this is supposed to give you like an ice hard clear coat. And as you can see, I still haven't broken into this, but these are US made. They're pretty easy to find. You can actually get them on Spray Gunner, and they're supposedly getting a lot of really good reviews. So I think over the next coming weeks, as I have some downtime in between the tall geese build back there, I'm going to try out and see, how these work, and along with the clear coat. But I just wanted to show you some products that I use in my workflow, and to see if anybody else had anything they use or any other recommendations. But, in the near term, right before I close out this video, I just want to stamp home again. I really think it's worth investing in the Alclad Aqua Gloss. This acrylic top coat is fantastic versus trying to work with Pledge, which I've had some pretty unpredictable results with. And sinking all this time into our models, let's make sure we get it right. But again, I'd love to hear what you think. This is just what I've got. And if anybody has any other workflow recommendations or products that have worked for them, send me it. I'd love to have a discussion with you and hear what else you're working with. Other than that, life's good. I'm going to be working on the tall geese in the background, and I'll be sure to post pics as that comes up. And in the meantime, I want you guys to be sure to send me some of them sick builds.